This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. The deadline for the EU and China to come to an agreement in their EV dispute is passed, so the higher tariffs were formally approved and published in the EU's official journal, which means they kick in today. The additional tariff on imported Chinese EVs are 7.8% for Tesla, 17% for BYD, 18.8% for Geely, 35.3% for SAIC, and 20.7% for everybody else. And remember, that's on top of a 10% tariff for any vehicle imported into the EU, and rules like these are typically in effect for 5 years. But SAIC is ready to fight back, saying it plans to file a lawsuit with the EU's Court of Justice with the hope of at least getting its tariff down to a lower level. Reuters reports that China also told automakers to stop investing in countries that supported the tariffs. In a vote earlier this month, 10 European countries supported the tariffs, including France, Italy, and Poland. And China could slap its own tariffs on European goods as well. The Volkswagen Group reported its third quarter earnings, and the results show why it's aggressively trying to cut costs. It sold more than 2.1 million vehicles, which is down 8.3% compared to a year ago, and its revenue fell 0.5% to 78.5 billion euros. But its operating profit slumped nearly 42% to 2.9 billion, and its net profit plunged 63% to about 1.6 billion euros. The group's profits were hurt by weak demand for the VW brand, investments in new models, and high costs in Germany. And in addition to plant closings and layoffs, Germany's Handelsblatt newspaper reports that Volkswagen is also planning significant pay cuts. It says it will cut salaries by 10%, as well as cancel bonus payments, allowances, and pay raises. This would save the company about 2 billion euros a year, but that's only about half of the 4 billion it's aiming to cut. Meanwhile, it's much rosier over at BYD. It sold 1.12 million electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles in the third quarter, which is a 37% gain from a year ago. Its revenue hit $28.2 billion, which is a quarterly record for the company, and it was higher than Tesla's revenue of $25.2 billion in Q3, which is the first time that BYD has beaten Tesla in revenue. And while BYD's net income rose 11.5% to $1.6 billion, it was below Tesla's $2.2 billion net profit in the third quarter. BYD now has a market cap of $118 billion, making it the third most valuable automaker in the world behind Tesla and Toyota. German engineering group Siemens has started to transition away from its heavy equipment business into more software products because it thinks it can make more money there and it's ready to spend big to do it. Bloomberg reports that Siemens is nearing a $9 billion deal to buy Michigan-based software developer Altair Engineering, which would be its biggest acquisition ever. Altair primarily provides solutions for the aerospace, automotive, energy, and financial industries. With the rise of AI, demand for the kinds of software solutions that Altair offers is expected to see big growth. Renault wants to shift more research and development of electric vehicles to China, so it's building an EV R&D team in the country and plans to start mass producing a new electric car by late next year. It would mark the first time the automaker has invested to develop a new car in China. But reports say the team will report directly to Renault's headquarters in France, and the cars are only intended for Europe and other overseas markets, not China. As you may know, Renault and Geely have a relatively new partnership, and a year ago, Renault announced it would come out with vehicles on Geely's CMA platform. So it may be looking for ways to leverage that partnership with this new R&D team in China. Speaking of teaming up on EVs, Toyota and Suzuki are forming a new partnership. Since Toyota is so much bigger, you might think that it would supply Suzuki with an EV, but it's actually the other way around. The model, a battery electric SUV, will be developed and manufactured by Suzuki in India. They say it will be available with four-wheel drive, but other than that, the details are vague, like it will be nimble, offer ample range, and have a comfortable cabin. The platform for the SUV was jointly done by Suzuki, Toyota, and Daihatsu, so there could be even more variants. But don't picture the tiny K cars that they already make together. They say this will be a global model. Stellantis is in another legal battle with one of its suppliers over a pricing dispute. This time it's German parts maker Brose. Stellantis alleges in its lawsuit that Brose is not honoring its contract and is demanding more money for parts. The automaker also claims that it had to shut down its Windsor assembly plant back in July for 2 days because Brose refused to ship parts without a price increase. Stellantis says the production stoppage cost it $3 million. Brose has not filed a response to the lawsuit, but said in a statement that it's, quote, hopeful for a resolution that allows our partnership to continue. Brose is at least the 5th supplier that Stellantis has sued in the past year, mostly over similar pricing disputes. Automakers in Europe are lobbying to delay or relax stricter emission rules that go into effect next year because they face fines up to $15 billion for missing the targets. But it's not just passenger vehicles. Emission standards for vans also get stricter next year, and automakers are worried about meeting those targets as well. Companies must cut CO2 emissions from new vans by 17% to 154 grams per kilometer on average. Automakers will have to increase the number of electric vans they sell to meet the targets, but the problem is consumers aren't buying them. In the first 6 months of the year, EV van sales in the EU fell 3.7%, while sales of diesel vans increased 16%, accounting for 84% of the total market. Meanwhile, EV vans only account for 6% of light commercial sales, but in order to meet next year's CO2 targets, Stellantis says it will have to increase its EV van share to 20% of sales, and Renault says it will have to hit 18%. So, to become compliant, the companies say they'll likely have to reduce sales of ICE vans. In its Q3 update, Tesla said it would start producing more affordable models in the first half of next year, and it looks like it's getting ready to do that. The Austin Business Journal reports that Tesla has filed 10 applications that would effectively double the size of its Gigafactory in Texas. The company says these more affordable models will combine aspects of both its current platforms as well as the next-gen platform, but that they can still be made on the same manufacturing lines. With the move, Tesla expects to get closer to its maximum manufacturing capacity, which is around 3 million units, and would represent a 50% production increase over 2023. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by ZF.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Performance that shines, even in the rain. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Potenza tires, improved grip in wet conditions.